Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and today we're actually going to look at some expanded tournament results. Now, Japan actually had a Champions League in Aichi, and we did have both standard and expanded for this tournament, which was very interesting. The standard format version here, we did see Charizard win. They did have some of the new cards. We see the champion list here playing the unfair stamp. It's basically just the Crimson Haze cards, and I've already done a video where we've looked at Crimson Haze decks in Japan that were doing well, and we did see a lot of the Zard list already playing the unfair stamp. Some other highlights: Quad Iron Thorns did decent in this Champions League here, which is pretty cool. Quad Iron Thorns definitely is a really fun deck. I can't wait to try out. Just like block abilities with Initialize and just kind of cheese the opponent. It's pretty cool to see what did well in at the Champions League. Then obviously another big highlight, that Blood Moon Ursaluna being a very, very popular. But I wanted to actually look at the expanded results. So expanded is a format we don't currently have, and we are very limited to what we can do with expanded on Pokemon TCG Live, but I still wanted to take a look at what decks in Expanded are doing well to show you guys some of the crazy stuff that Expanded has access to. It is a very wild format that I think a lot of people will agree that is a little toxic and extremely toxic, to be honest with you. There's some very broken combos, and I'm going to show off some of the most broken combos in Expanded in today's video, looking at all of these decks here from the Expanded format in the Champions League. Of course, with Twilight Masquerade coming out very soon, and with Mask of Change coming out very soon in Japan, we're going to be seeing the rest of the Twilight Masquerade set's impact in Japan. That's why we're not really diving too much into the standard format stuff. But I'll leave a link to the website I'm using, Pokemon TCG Legends, in the description below if you want to go check out these decks for yourself. Great resource to kind of see all the tournaments and stuff in the past and whatnot, so definitely check them out down below. And if you're new to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below and all that good stuff. We're on the road to 14,000 subs. And let me know what you think of Expanded down below. Do you personally want Expanded to come back? So, getting into things, though, deck that won the tournament was basically a control/lock deck, and that was, of course, none other than a Vileplume lock deck. Now, Vileplume lock is definitely a very scary deck in Expanded, mainly because Vileplume has that item lock ability. And looking at the list here, we do see some very cool inclusions, and we're going to kind of break down cards and combos, why certain cards are good within this deck. So yeah, item lock is very strong, right? We know item lock is very good. This this Vileplume from Ancient Origins, this card's like a decade old, has that irritating pollen ability where each player can play items from their hand, which is very, very powerful. I mean, being able to block items is extremely strong because you are able to shut off so many good cards, especially in Expanded where you have a ginormous card pool. Now, the interesting thing about this list, it plays 7 item cards. It's playing 4 Tag Call, 3 Buddy Poffin. That's it. And because of that, you don't really care about the item lock that much. Now, some other really interesting combos. It is playing at the Pidgeot EX. Pidgeot EX is already really good in our format, right? With Charizard and with, like, Snorlax and whatnot. But Pidgeot in Expanded is even more broken. Imagine Expanded format, this giant card pool of like every card in the game, all these broken combo pieces you can do. Imagine being able to like abuse the ability to get any card every deck every turn. That's what makes this deck so good, is it can abuse Pidgeot. Now, another very insane combo is actually Bunnelby. Now, this is kind of the main card in the deck. It does have that Ancient Barrage, Ancient Trait, but you can actually attack twice a turn. Even if you knock something out, you can still attack again. Now, obviously, you're not going to knock anything out with Bunnelby, but it does have the attack Burrow, which can discard the top card of your opponent's deck. You can do this twice because you can use your Ancient Trait to attack twice, or you can use Rototiller here, which allows you to put a card from your discard pile back into your deck. You can do that twice and get 2 cards back for free. This Bunnelby is an extremely strong card that I don't know if it'll ever get banned if Expanded ever returned, but this card definitely enables some very crazy combos because you have infinite resources with Bunnelby. Now, on top of that, you can also use Bunnelby with Technical Machine. Now, the crazy thing with this is you can use it with TM Evolution, which allows you to obviously evolve 2 of your bench Pokemon. Now, Bunnelby can do TM Evo twice, meaning that if you go Bunnelby, attach TM Evo through something like Guzmahala, right, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can go Oddish, TM Evo once into Gloom, use Bunnelby's Ancient Trait, TM Evo twice, and go immediately into a Vileplume turn 1. Turn 1 item lock is disgusting, and this deck can actually pull that item lock play off on the first turn of the game with TM Evolution, which is really, really good. Being able to TM Evo out item lock for free is just so, so powerful, and it's one of the things that makes Bunnelby so good within this deck, especially when you combine it with TM Evo. Now, instead of playing Arven, the deck does play Guzma, which allows you to search your deck for either Stadium, or you can discard 2 other cards from your hand, and then you can get a tool and a special energy card on top of that, which means you can use this Guzma to immediately grab yourself a free TM Evolution and an energy card. Now, one interesting thing about this list, it actually uses Neo Upper Energy as the ace spec. Instead of playing, the Prime Catcher or even Unfair Stamp, which I'm pretty sure was legal for this tournament, this is opting to play what everyone considers to be the worst ace spec, Neo Upper Energy, but this does allow you to attack with some of your Stage 2 Pokemon. Now, while you do have the item lock Vileplume, you have other Vileplumes. You got the Disgusting Pollen Vileplume, which is immune to basic Pokemon, which is really, really good. Or just base Pokemon in the when it's in the active, they can't attack. It's not immune to basics. They just flat out can't attack. You can build it up with the Neo Upper Energy, and there's also Vileplume GX. There's a lot of good Vileplumes in Expanded, and this is another good one. We got the Vileplume GX here, which does have that ability, Fragrant Flower Garden, which once you're in your turn, you can heal 30 damage from each of your Pokemon. And you have Massive Bloom, which does a nice big 180 damage, and you can power that up with a single energy with Neo Upper Energy. I don't think the healing is very relevant. It's mostly just a nice big beat stick attacker, and you also have Allergic Explosion GX, which allows you to do 50 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned, paralyzed, and poisoned. That can buy you a turn. Being able to burn and paralyze your opponent under item lock is pretty good, especially Paralysis, which makes this Vileplume really, really strong. And then, of course, we do have some other key cards like the Giraffe Rig here, allowing you to put 2 items from your opponent's discard into the Lost Zone. Another very strong card. Being able to remove your opponent's resources is really good in Expanded, and the discard pile does play a big role in Expanded, so being able to remove stuff from the game completely is really, really good. And then there's Jirachi with Stardust. You can discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. If you do, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So if you're playing against a deck with special energy like Double Dragon or Double Colorless or Double Turbo or even Neo Upper Energy, you can remove it for free, and then Jirachi just can't be damaged. So you can potentially remove 2 energies and just kind of remove all of your opponent's resources with this card. I'm not too sure what this guy is in the deck for. The Pikachu Firefighter. Discard a Fire Energy on your opponent's active. I guess that's good against the fire decks, because obviously this deck, well, it is very strong. If your opponent rolls up with a fire deck, would probably just get, completely destroyed, because, Vileplume's weak to fire. So maybe that's what the Firefighter Pikachu's for, is to remove the fire energy. I didn't even know this card existed, to be honest with you. It is a, I'm not sure what generation it's from. Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon. Okay, that's pretty old, actually. It's from Sun and Moon era. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But yeah, this deck is all about locking your opponent with Vileplume, turn 1 item lock with Bumblebee, and then you have the infinite resources. You can get back Team Flare Gun, discard an energy on your opponent's active. You got Plumeria, discard 2 cards in your hand, discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. You got the Team Skull Grunt. Your opponent reveals their hand, discard 2 energy from it. So you have all these ways to discard your opponent's energies and remove them from play. And due to Bumblebee's attack Rototiller, you can just keep getting them back every turn. You have Pidgeot to quick search it out. Even the Pidgeotto is really good. Now, if everyone knows what the new Dracloak does in Twilight Masquerade, this card is literally the exact same thing as Dracloak, except it's on a Pidgeotto, which is also pretty good, considering that Pidgeot EX is very, very powerful. That airmail ability, looking at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand and the other at the bottom of your deck. So you kind of use this to, find resources, and it's a nice way to kind of have a mini draw engine in the deck if you don't get Pidgeot out right away, which you can still do, because you can go Bumblebee. I'm pretty sure you can actually TM Evo into Vileplume and Pidgeot on your first turn, which is honestly kind of ridiculous, not gonna lie. Being able to Bumblebee out Pidgeot and Vileplume turn 1 is kind of disgusting. That's what makes this deck so strong. Just turn 1 item lock, infinite resources, energy removal, annoying kind of combos with those energy discarding combos, the Pidgeot EX. Being able to find any card out of your deck every turn is just ridiculous. I want to see if there's any other Pidgeots here, because in the second place list, there was a very cool kind of OTK deck here, and that is going to be the Alolan Raichu. I actually did a video on this deck on the channel in the limited expanded format we have on live. If you want to go see that, definitely go check out the channel. I might have said second channel by accident. Did I say? No, I did on the main channel. But yeah, I did a video on Alolan Raichu. Just got the attack Electro Rain. Discard any amount of light energy from this Pokemon. Then for each energy you discarded in this way, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon and do 30 damage to it. So basically, you just fall behind in the prize trade using Electrode GX with that extra energy bomb ability where you can knock it out, and then you can attach 5 energy from your discard pile to any of your Pokemon, except for GXs or Pokemon EX. Now, you can actually use this with the other EXs we now have in our format, because they're lowercase, but we're not trying to do that. We're just trying to power up the Alolan Raichu, and if we lock our opponent with Gengar Mimikyu's Horror House GX attack, where your opponent can't play any cards from their hand, basically you prevent your opponent from being able to bench that many Pokemon turn 1, And then you come in, and then you KO everything on the board with Electro Rain, basically, with Reversal Energy, which does provide 3 energies for the Alolan Raichu, meaning that 1 reversal is 90 damage you can essentially do with that attack, and that is pretty insane. So you just put 4 reversal energies on your Raichu, and then, of course, you have Counter Energy, which can provide 2 energy, so that's plus 60. And then you just kind of blow everything up in one hit with Electro Rain and win the game in like 2 turns. That's basically the concept of this deck. You go through your deck really quickly with the stuff like the Dedenne GX, and then obviously the Crobat V. You just go through your deck, got Squawkabilly, and you just blow everything up in 1 turn with Raichu. There's this Whismur with Ball. You can use this attack only if you go second, and only on your first turn. Your opponent can't play any trainers from their hand, so instead of doing Horror House, you can Ball instead to make it even harder for the opponent to play the game. Because you shut off trainers, you are shutting off supporter cards because they are classified as trainers. So very disgusting deck. It is a bit of a combo-focused deck, and it does rely heavily on items, so it's no surprise to see it fall to the Vileplume deck in second place. And top 4, there's another Vileplume deck. Pretty similar concept to the other one. Is it the same 60? It might be the same 60, but there was another one of these Vileplume Bunnelby lock decks here. I want to see if Bunnelby ends up getting banned and expanded in Japan. Japan is still banning cards, even though we don't have expanded. Expanded in Japan is still, banning cards. Scoop Up Net was just recently banned not too long ago. So we'll see about Bunnelby. In top 4, there's a really interesting Iron Thorns lock deck here using some pretty interesting attackers. So Iron Thorns EX has this ability, initialize when it's in the active spot. Pokemon with a rule box have no abilities except for future Pokemon. Obviously, shutting off abilities is really good. It's only on rule box Pokemon, though, obviously. You're not shutting off, stuff like that Vileplume, but you are shutting off Pidgeot. You can shut off a lot of good abilities with this card. And then, of course, you just have these other kind of annoying cards like Vigavole V, which can item lock your opponent. We already know item lock's really good. Then we have Luxray V, which can Fang Snipe your opponent and discard a trainer card from your opponent's hand, which is also pretty good. There's also Lucario Melmetal Tag Team GX. Very interesting inclusion within this deck. It's got that full Metal Wall GX, where basically for the rest of the game, your Metal Pokemon take 30 less damage. However, if you have that extra energy on it, you can discard all energy on your opponent's active Pokemon. So you basically just use it for the other effect where you can discard all the energy on their active Pokemon, making it really hard for them to kind of play the game. Because you just remove all their resources in one. Then you got the Garbodor with Garbotoxin that gets to ability lock your opponent if there's a tool card on it. Be a really cool card to have back in our format. And then, of course, we do have the special energy for the deck, like the Speed Lightning, the Double Colorless Energy to power up your Iron Thorns. You're just trying to be really annoying to block your opponent from being able to do stuff. There's Cheryl in the deck, which can heal your Evolution Pokemon, which is very interesting that it actually is in here for basically just the Garbodors. I'm actually not too sure on that one, because Cheryl only heals Garbodor. I'm not too sure what the matchup that's for. I guess maybe we'll find out. So we scroll down. Trouble Beach is in the deck. A very interesting stadium card that once you're in, each player's turn, that player may draw cards until they have 7 in their hand and then their turn ends. This is basically Cleffa on a stadium. This card is very, very crucial for setting up a lot of these slower paced decks. And if you have access to this card, which by the way, this card is extremely expensive, you can actually, take advantage of it really nicely. It's a very big advantage gaining card. Yeah, very cool kind of lock deck here. It's one of the first main new cards from Twilight Masquerade we're seeing in Expanded. There's a couple of Reg Drago decks here. Reg Drago is another really good archetype in Japan. If everybody wants Reg Drago to be good in Standard, you should all just play Expanded, because this card is really good in Expanded. And that's mainly because not only do you have more dragons to choose from, but you also have the double dragon energy, which does provide that 2 rainbow energy on a dragon Pokemon. This does give your Reg Drago V-Star the ability to use Apex Dragon even quicker, because you can put a double dragon on it, then 1 other energy to it for the turn, and then boom, it's powered up in a single turn. It's a pretty ridiculous energy card that enables Reg Drago. And again, with all the dragons to choose from, we got the classic, you got the Gudra, got the Noivern EX, stuff we've already been seeing in Standard, but it also plays cards like Mega Rayquaza EX, which just does 300 damage. Basically, it's just a great way to take out anything in the active spot. Funny enough, though, 300 sometimes just won't be enough in our format. Which is kind of crazy, but in Expanded, it's not bad. And then obviously you got the Noivern GX in the deck with Distort that item locks your opponent. So this deck once again can item lock. You kind of see a trend here with a lot of the decks here in this Champions League. Item lock is very valuable, and a lot of these decks have a way to item lock your opponent. You also have Sonic Volume, which can also lock special energies, kind of like you can do with Dominating Echo. And, of course, we got the Dialga GX in the deck, which has Timeless GX, where you do 150 and you take another turn. So it's basically like having Dialga V-Star's V-Star power, right? So you kind of see why Reg Drago is so good. There's so many dragons to choose from. I mean, that's kind of limited to the dragons. You're either trying to lock your opponent, take less damage, take an extra turn, or just kind of that's about it. You just do big damage. And that's kind of the attackers. And there's so many to choose from. There's no Giratina, no Duraludon, none like that. But there are a lot of dragons you can choose from. And it is very cool to see Reg Drago actually be a good deck and expanded. Because I want this card to be good in standard. We just have never been able to see it quite get there. But this is potentially, the best way to play it. Another one in top 4 here. Or top 8, sorry. This one does have a few differences than the other one. It is playing at less dragons. It doesn't have the Noivern EX in the deck. It still plays at Noivern GX. It does have Dawn Wings Necrozma, which is basically just here for the ability Invasion, where once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you can switch it in with the active spot. And if you put a Floatstone on it, you can retreat it back into Reg Drago. Basically just here to get around like any special condition shenanigans your opponent tries to put on you. You can just infinitely kind of make sure you can never be paralyzed locked with Floatstone and Dawn Wings Necrozma. Has that Gardenia in the deck to power up Drago in a single turn. You can Gardenia to either build it up, or you can just go Gardenia, attach Double Dragon, power up Drago in a single turn. Now, this is where probably we saw that Vileplume play that Firefighter Pikachu, and that's because there was a Gouging Fire Volcanion EX deck in top 8. So, Fire is really, really strong and expanded because, we just saw that Vileplume deck do so well. And that's probably why we're seeing this Volcanion deck see some play here. Now, Volcanion EX has that ability where you can discard a Fire Energy from your hand, and then during your turn, your basic Fire Pokemon's attacks will do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So you can combine that with Gouging Fire's Blaze Blitz attack, which does 260, 290 with the Volcanion, 320 with double Volcanion. Just does big numbers, and just being a fire Pokemon is really good, as we saw, really helpful against that Vileplume deck that won the tournament. Now, this is just basically like an aggressive beat stick fire deck. It takes advantage of broken supporters like Welder, which lets you put 2 Fire Energy from your hand on one of your Pokemon, and then you draw 3 cards. It's basically a buffed up version of Gardenia's Vigor, which we just looked at. So Welder is just an insane supporter for this deck, yeah. So it is nice to kind of see an expanded deck not just be about locking your opponent and being annoying and just being aggressive, being strong, being powerful, and just hitting really hard. It is cool to kind of see a deck like this still thrive in Expanded, because Expanded is all about using these broken combos like Bunnelby and TM Evo and Pidgeot with like Faba and Rototiller. Regidrago V-Stars, Dialga GX attack combined with like Noivern. It's just these ridiculously OP combos. It is nice to just see a classic, just attack your opponent and hit hard type of deck still do good, and just being nice against Vileplume is nice. And then we got a Lugia deck here in top 8. Lugia is also pretty ridiculous and expanded, and that's because it has a lot of energy and attackers to choose from. Now, this build is just prioritizing the Dragon Pokemon, which is honestly pretty strong, too. So Lugia, obviously, we all know what it does, gets the Archeops in play. Funny enough, this build only plays 3 Archeops, because it's actually really easy to get Archeops out thanks to Battle Compressor, which allows you to put 3 cards into your discard pile from your deck. So you just Battle Compressor 2 Archeops away, Summoning Star, boom, just like that. And there's also Wally, which lets you put your Lugia V-Star into play immediately. So you can literally go Battle Compressor Wally in a single turn and get a turn 1 Summoning Star off, which is just ridiculous. Now, the main attackers, like I said, we are abusing that double Dragon Energy, which provides that 2 Dragon Energy. You can put that onto Naganadel Guzzlord with Jet Pierce and also Chaotic Order, where you can turn all of your prize cards face up. And then for the rest of the game, you can turn the prize face up. And then if this Pokemon has at least 1 extra energy, Psychic and Dark on it, you can also take 2 prize cards. So you just kind of put 2 double dragons on it, and you just Chaotic Order for 2 prizes. Pretty crazy. And then there's also Garchomp with Sonic Strike, which can discard energy, and then you can snipe for 220. So you actually will run out of double dragons if you spam these. Now, the problem with that is that it doesn't matter because a special charge exists. You can just special charge, put 2 Splash Energy back into your deck from your discard pile, basically allowing you to get back your double dragons after using them. Really cool stuff. The only thing missing from this Lugia list would probably just be that Giratina Garchomp Tag Team GX, which is another really popular card that this Lugia deck plays. It is interesting that it's a bit more of an aggressive build, not really trying to like do some cheesy plays with Giratina Garchomp's GX attack, opting for just aggressive power. And interestingly enough, there's Fluttermane in the deck here, a card that's actually been seeing some play in Lugia right now, but does have that Midnight Fluttering, where obviously it's in the active spot. Your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities, so you can kind of slow your opponent down a little bit, especially in Expanded, where you can lock some of the abilities in your opponent's active spot. That actually isn't terrible to have. You can easily just charge it up with, double Colorless Energy. It's also Weird Ear in the deck. It's another big attacker. You just put 4 double Colorless Energy on it and just, call it a day and just start swinging really, really hard. And then, of course, outside of the top 8, there's Mew, another deck that could probably be really broken and expanded, because Mew can play the Stadium card, Sky Field, which allows you Or actually, it doesn't play Skyfield. That was a Path of the Peak. I lied. All right, never mind. There's no. I thought that was a Skyfield for a second. They look the same, bro. But okay, no, this is an old classic Mew VMAX deck with Path of the Peak. All right, I thought they played Skyfield, but yeah, Mew and Expanded seems really good. Not only do you get access to more cards to choose from to build, kind of play your deck, but you just have a bigger card pool to choose from. Like I said, it just seems really, really good when you can play. You got 4 power tablets. The Ultra Balls, Quick Balls, the normal stuff you'd see. Battle VIP makes its return in this deck, but it does have other powerful cards like Muscle Band, which lets your Mew do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. You got the Marnie in the deck for some hand disruption. Kind of like playing Judge, but you can see one more card. There's also the Plumeria, which you can discard 2 cards for movement energy, which can slow your opponent down. Just an aggressive build here. It didn't get top 8. But it was at 9th place. One interesting inclusion is actually Seismitoad EX with Quaking Punch, item locking the opponent. Like I said, very common trend we're seeing here in a lot of these expanded decks. They all have a way to item lock your opponent, and the Seismitoad can item lock the opponent. Instead of Widow in the deck, you can limit your opponent's bench to 4, especially if you're playing against a deck that does have Skyfield in it. You can limit their bench. You got the Resetting Hole Marshadow, which can be nice to get rid of annoying stadium cards from the Mew deck. But yeah, it's just old classic Mew. Just kind of doing its thing. It does play Unfair Stamp, which I think is a fantastic card to play in Mew. Imagine knocking something out and then just getting Unfair Stamped, and then Mew blows you up. How do you respond to that? That seems kind of scary. Unfair Stamp would have been bonkers in Mew. I thought Prime Catcher was going to be good in Mew. Try Unfair Stamp instead. All right, we got another Iron Thorn style deck here. This one is just a straight up quad attacking Iron Thorns disruption deck. It's not really playing any Vigavals or Luke Metals. It's just playing Iron Thorns and Wobbuffet. It's trying to be really annoying. Wobbuffet does have that ability, Bide Barricade. When it's in the active spot, each Pokemon in play in each player's hand and discard pile have no abilities except for Psychic Pokemon. So stuff like Tapu Lele will still have its ability, and there's other Pokemon too, but you're still ability locking the opponent with either the Iron Thorns or the Wobbuffet. So basically, the whole game, your opponent does not have abilities, which is kind of crazy, actually. So, really cool stuff. It is playing less, kind of energy. It's got the speed energy and then the counter energy for the Iron Thorns, which can provide that attack cost for Bull Cyclone. But you can also use counter energy with Wobbuffet's Psychic Assault attack that does 10 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Turn Wobbuffet into an attacker, too. Interesting, there's a Palace book in here. Draw 3 cards, and then your turn ends. That's kind of crazy. Now, this card probably wouldn't be very good if it, existed right now, because Rotom V is the same thing, but you're not going to play Rotom in this deck. This card never came out in English. It is from the Sun and Moon era, so, yeah, it is a very old card, it looks like. Got the Unfair Stamp Ace-Spec, the Hammers. Got cards like Team Rocket's Handiwork. Flip 2 coins for each heads. Discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, so you can potentially discard 4 cards. There's also, of course, Eerie. There's the Team Flare Grunt to remove energy on your opponent's active. The Skull Grunt, just an annoying wall deck. Does have that Wondrous Labyrinth Stadium. The attacks of non-fairy Pokemon will cost 1 colorless more, so you just basically make it hard for the opponent to kind of attack you and just, yeah, it's just a lock deck that tries to be very annoying, and that's basically the style of this deck. Just be annoying, and yeah, it seems pretty strong. Quad Iron Thorns and Expanded definitely seems pretty good. Another Lugia deck here in the tournament here. Now, this one does actually play a little bit of a different engine. It's not playing the dragons. It is kind of going back to the amazing rare stuff, but still also incorporating new cards like Iron Hands EX. Obviously, Ampy very much is very, very powerful, and Lugia and Expanded will be able to abuse this thanks to cards like Aurora Energy, meaning that you can easily charge up Iron Hands in a single turn. Still has the Wally in the deck to get that turn 1 Lugia V-Star off, and we're going back to the old formula of playing Amazing Rare Eviltal and Amazing Rare Raikou with Amazing Shot to do 120 Snipe, and Amazing Rare Eviltal to instantly KO your opponent's active Pokemon, which in Expanded is also really, really good. But yeah, Lugia and Expanded is broken. There's many ways to play it. You can kind of go back to the old formula of the Amazing Rares. You can play Iron Hands, and of course, you have the Dragon package. This build here, opting just kind of play it a little bit more or a little bit more different, and playing the old-fashioned way. There's a deck list here, another Alolan Raichu deck. It looks like. Unfortunately, we aren't able to see it. There are a few decks that are missing. And then to round things out, we got another Reg Drago deck here in the tournament in top 16. Reg Drago, once again, doing its thing. Does have an interesting engine. It's got Garbodor in the deck, but Garbodor does have that ability. Like I said, with a tool on it, you can lock all abilities from place. Use Garbodor to slow your opponent down while you kind of beat them down with Reg Drago. You do have those main attackers of Goodra, the Timeless GX Dialga, the Noivern GX, and the other Mega Charizard that, another Mega Charizard. It was the Mega Rayquaza was the other one. But this Mega Charizard doing 300 damage. You'd have to discard the top 5 cards of your deck, but as a way to kind of blow something up at the end of the game, isn't too bad. Because you got Muscle Band, increased damage. You got the Reg Drago 1 prizer in the deck, 2 with Dragon Energy, nice way to do 240 damage without needing any like weird effects of discarding cards, basically. So yeah, Reg Drago Garbodor is also really good. Like I said, Drago, seen a lot of play and expanded, does make me happy because I am a big fan of Reg Drago. All right, I was able to find more of the decks here from this tournament. I want to give a shout out to Stefan Ivanov, who actually asked for a link for more of these deck lists, and we did see that somebody did respond to the link, so we got more decks to look at here. I'll leave a link to this website also down in the description below. So outside of the top 16, we also did have another Reg Drago deck here in top 32. Once again, playing some good Dragon Pokemon. It does have the Charizard in the deck, so adding the Charizard EX into the deck, the new one that does 280 damage. And then there's also Dragonite. Now, Dragonite does have the attack Deafen, which does also lock, I think it blocks trainers or items, one of the two. I forget what the Dragonite does exactly, but I know it's like it's item lock once again. And then it's also got Garbodor within the deck to slow the opponent down. Pretty cool stuff there. Yeah, playing the Dragonite. And we got another build here to look at. We got another interesting deck. It's a Serena EX deck. Now, Serena V does have that attack where you can discard a Pokemon on your bench, and then for each one you discard, you can do a ton of damage. Serena V definitely seems really, really strong to have in the deck, because you can put a bunch of Pokemon in play for free with, of course, Giratina. Giratina has that ability where you can put it on your bench for free. There's also the Execute with Propagation, which you can put into your hand and then obviously bench it, discard it with the Serena V. There's also the Mr. Mime Jirachi combo, which basically, if you have a bench spot open, you get the Radiant Jirachi or the Jirachi Prism off of the prizes you can put on your bench and then take another prize card. So you have a way to kind of take even more prizes with the Jirachi Prism Star, Mr. Mime, because Mr. Mime, I think, puts a card on from the top of your deck into your prize card. So you go a Ranguru, put Jirachi on top of the deck, you Mr. Mime, bench Mr. Mime, use the ability, put the Jirachi in your prizes, and you take the prize when you knock something out, and then the Jirachi goes in your bench, take a prize. That's essentially how that combo works. So that's cool. Yeah, Serena V is kind of sick. And then, of course, we got another Reg Drago deck here. A couple more Reg Dragos, actually. Yeah, we got another Drago deck. Quickly can pull it up here real quick. Another Reg Drago deck. Playing the same dragons we saw earlier with the Dragonite. It's got the Noivern EX in the deck, the Dialga. It's got the Rayquaza back in the deck over the Mega Charizard. And then there's the Gudra. Does also play that Firefighter Pikachu, which I guess actually would be good against Drago also. Not only is it good against like that Gouging Fire deck, it's also good against other Dragos. You can discard their fire, but they do have the double dragon, so I'm not sure how effective that actually is, but it is kind of cool to see that being here. But yeah, Drago doing really good and expanded. I love to see it. It's an awesome Pokemon. I wish it was better. We got another cool deck here, and that is an Iron Thorns Toolbox deck. So it does play Archeops, so instead of playing Lugia to get Archeops out, it actually gets Archeops out the old-fashioned way, using the the Research Lab Stadium, which allows you to put Arcchin into play for free, and then you can evolve it into Archeops. That's interesting. So I'm pretty sure the lab ends your turn. It's been a while since I played it, but you can use the lab stadium, get the Archons out, and then you can evolve an Archeops, and then you just power up all your attackers that way. Some other cool things. We got the Roaring Moon in the deck. You can build Roaring Moon up with 3 of the Prism Energy, which basically is just Rainbow Energy for basic Pokemon. And then you got Iron Hands in the deck still. You got the Dragons. And then, of course, the Iron Thorns. Basically, you try to block your opponent from playing the game while you set up your Archeops over using Lugia. So you'd start Klefki or Thorns, block their abilities, you Research Lab out 2 Archons, go into Archeops, and then you start the fun. You can also you can Archeops to your Iron Thorns EX too, if you really wanted to, I think. So that's kind of cool. Nice stuff for sure. Some other decks here. Let's see, we got another control-style deck here in the tournament. This one does have some Dusknors in the deck. So it is the Bunnelby Vileplume combo again. Not playing the Pidgeot. It does have different Pokemon within the deck. We can actually see some very cool ones. So you got the Vileplumes, you got the Dusknor in the deck. I think the Dusknor blocks your opponent's special energy from working. So when the Dusknor's in play, the special energies basically provide just colorless energy. So if you're playing against like Lugia or Reg Drago, you turn the double dragon energies or the prisms or auroras essentially into colorless energy, which is pretty sick. And then there's obviously the Gudra in the deck. I think this Gudra prevents tools from doing anything. So when the Gudra's in play, you shut off all tool cards. So you can shut off other TM Evos, Hero's Cape, Muscle Band, and then you got the Gallade in the deck over the Pidgeot. So opting for Gallade instead of Pidgeot EX in the deck to find supporters. You got the Alolan Persian, which is immune to tag team Pokemon and Pokemon with special energy attached. I'm pretty sure that's what the Persian does. So it is kind of just a more lock deck, trying to use more stage 2s that lock your opponent. It's more of like a stage 2 toolbox lock deck as opposed to just like a Vileplume deck. Because there you have the Vileplumes. So no Vileplume GX. He's trying to lock the opponent a little bit harder with all these annoying abilities like Gudra here, blocking the tools from working, and then Dusknoir blocking special energy from having their effects. That's kind of cool to see. Another interesting deck here we can look at. It's another Serena deck, it looks like. Yeah, another Serena using that Jirachi Mr. Mime combo to take an extra prize. That's cool to see. Yeah, Serena's kind of sick. What do we got here? We got another Lugia. See if we can pull up the deck list. Yeah, we got another Lugia deck here. This one does play the Paradox package and has a lot of Dragon Pokemon. You can see it actually plays that Dialga GX. You can see it beside the Roaring Moon there. That Dialga GX with Timeless GX, which lets you take an extra turn. That seems kind of dirty in Lugia. And then obviously, you have a lot of other Pokemon. You got the Moon, the Hands, Naganadel Guzzlord, playing Squawkabilly 2, Dedenne, Fluttermane, but there's also some other interesting stuff like the Clefairy in the deck here. Got the Clefairy, which has Metronome, which can copy any of your opponent's active Pokemon's attack. It is a fairy Pokemon. You can actually hit for weakness against other Dragon Pokemon. It's like you're playing against Naganadel Guzzlord. You can copy Naganadel Guzzlord's attack, hit it for weakness, and want to kill it on a one-prizer. There's also the Sudowoodo. There's a Sudowoodo in the deck, it looks like. Now, the Sudowoodo can also copy your opponent's active Pokemon's attack. It's a fighting Pokemon. That's what that is. And then I don't know what's beside the Sudowoodo. Is that a Hoopa? It looks like a Hoopa. It's like I can't tell what that is. I don't know what's beside the Fluttermane and the Sudowoodo, but it is something. I'm not sure what it does. Maybe it copies your opponent's active Pokemon's attack. I'm not too sure on that one. I don't think the Zapdos is in the deck, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's just like the GX or V-Star marker. I guess we can zoom in a little bit. It's an ancient trait Pokemon. What is that? Is it? Oh, it's a Natu, right? I think it's a Natu. Is it? I have no idea what that is. Honestly, we're just going to move on. I have no idea what that is. I wish I knew. Another Drago deck playing Garbodor, playing the Dawnwings Necrozma. Same Dragon Pokemon we saw before. Looks like we got another Lugia deck playing some Paradox stuff. Does play the Moon. Yeah, okay, so Zapdos was like the prize you get for the tournament, it looks like. It's got the stamps on it. It's playing the new Blood Moon Ursaluna. So it's got a lot of stuff. Dragons, Moon, just a complete toolbox of attackers, which is kind of sick. And so it's got, yeah, Blood Moon, Amazing Rare Raikou. Oh, whoops. You can see the list right here again. Oh, wait, this is a different list, actually. This one has a lot more attackers in the deck. I just realized we got a lot of stuff. We got the amazing, we're not the amazing rares. We got the Blood Moon, the Thorns, Hands, Moon, playing the Bird Trio. Now, the Bird Trio is really cool. So we call it Bird Trio because it's the Tag Team GX of Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno. It's got that GX stack where I think if you have like 4 energy on it, you can do 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon, and then you shuffle this thing back into the deck. So that's a really interesting card to play with Lugia because you can put 4 energy on it and then just blow up like a bunch of Pokemon with 110 HP or less. Really cool stuff. You can take like a ton of prizes. You get the energy back into your deck. You can like promote the Iron Thorns EX for your turn to block your opponent's abilities. Really cool stuff. A lot of creativity expanded. A lot of just broken things. Another Drago list playing the new Koraidon EX. What else do we got here from the tournament? Okay, now here's where things get interesting. Charizard. So that's kind of like the elephant in the room. It's like we're looking at all these broken combos like Lugia and Vileplume, Bunnelby, stuff like that. People are probably like, where's Charizard at? Isn't Charizard good and expanded? Now, Charizard is being played and expanded here, it looks like, with the Inteleon engine, which is kind of OP. I mean, it might be better than Pidgeot and Bibarel, right? Because instead of playing the Pidgeot and the Bibarel, which you don't really need an expanded when you can play Inteleon. Shady Dealings, you don't know what it does when you evolve it. You evolve your Drizzle, you get a trainer out of your deck, you evolve into an Inteleon, Shady Dealings, you get 2 trainers for free. So it's a great way to just easily get Rare Candy Charizard out. And it does play the 4 Charmanders, the 3 Charizards, it's got the Klefki to slow your opponent down. Just a very straightforward Charizard deck. You do have some cards like the Stadium Silent Lab to block basic abilities, Temple Sinnoh to shut off special energy like Double Dragons and, stuff like that in the Lugia deck. Playing 4 Irida. Irida's insane. Irida can get you, a Shady Dealing piece and a Rare Candy. So this is just kind of a straightforward just attack with Charizard. I'm not sure how good Charizard really is because it's so easy to KO. Charizard in Standard is a bit harder to KO. In Expanded, it's probably a little bit easier to deal with it. But Charizard is just such a strong attacker that like it can still carry its own. And it is still seeing some play in Expanded, it looks like. So there you go. We got another deck here playing the it's another Iron Thorns Archeops deck here, so playing the Research Lab over the Lugia to get out your attackers. That's kind of cool. Cool stuff. There's a Guardy deck. I can't see the list though, but Gardevoir and Expanded seems kind of sick. There's a lot of options. Another Drago, it looks like. More Drago action. What else do we got here? More Reg Drago. Yeah, Red Drago is really popular and expanded because there's so many dragons to choose from, and you just you can do almost anything: item lock, attack, block your opponent, take less damage. Just kind of disgusting. Oko. There's a lot of Reg Drago. Holy smokes, there's a lot of Reg Drago. Just absolutely dominating expanded, which I'm happy to see. I like the deck. We got another Alolan Raichu combo deck where you use the Electrode and just try to win the game in 2 turns. Let's see, more Raichu. Again, I did a video on the main channel. Go watch it if you want. All right, we got another Iron Thorns Archeops deck. I don't know how good this deck is over playing Lugia, but I guess it's better than, just kind of aggro going with the Archeops. You can kind of slow the opponent down while you kind of set up, which is maybe more important than just going aggro Lugia. We got another Lugia deck here. More Lugia. So yeah, Lugia, Reg Drago, stuff like that, really popular. We got another Serena deck. It looks like, yeah, another Serena. Playing the Jirachi combo. Also has Buzzwole Pheromosa GX, which with the attack for 1 grass energy does 50 damage. If you knock something out, you take 2 extra prizes or something, which is crazy. Kind of catch people off guard. Another Vileplume Bunnelby deck. Instead of playing the Pidgeot, it is opting to play Gallades, it looks like. Yeah, it is Gallade, right? Yeah, I think it's 2 Gallades. Kind of a glare there, but it looks like it might be 2 Gallades. Using Gallade over Pidgeot. We got another Vileplume lock deck, a little bit smaller, but once again, playing a Gallade in the deck for the engine. We got another Charizard Inteleon deck. Like I said, it doesn't really do anything too crazy and special, just kind of tries to just be Charizard, and it does have some options like Unfair Stamp. It's also playing Wait and See Hammer, which I think it basically states if you go second, you can discard an energy on your opponent's Pokemon, but you can only use it on your second turn, so it's only useful on that 1 turn you play it, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, Charizard, even though it doesn't do anything crazy, it's Charizard. It just evolve, beat up your opponent. Can you deal with it? Nope. Okay. That's kind of the thing. Even though in Expanded, there's more Oko options, right? You got another Charizard deck here with Inteleon. Charizard didn't do as good in this tournament, and that's probably just because, again, the format is so hostile towards it. It just feels like it's hard for the deck to actually operate. We got another Charizard. It's kind of like what we see in Standard, playing the Octillery and the Inteleon. Octillery's got the same ability as Bibarel, and then Inteleon's kind of similar to Pidgeot, sort of. Not really, but, I mean, you can get anything out of your deck, basically. It's the same thing. We got another Vileplume lock deck playing Alolan Exeggutor Rowlet, which allows you to go, you can use its attack, which for no energy allows you to go Oddish Gloom Vileplume in a single turn. So instead of using Bunnelby, you use Eggrow instead. The problem with Eggrow is that you have to also power it up as an attacker. It's not Bunnelby. You don't get the infinite resources like Bunnelby has. It does have the Alolan Persian in the deck to block be immune to Pokemon with special energy. It's got the Rillaboom in the deck, which can accelerate energy to the Eggrow, which you can build up in a single turn. Cool stuff. We got a Vigavolt Regieleki deck here. Regieleki lets your Vigavolt do more damage. It's kind of just a Miraidon deck. You have a lot of energy acceleration. You have Max Elixir and Electric Generator and Tapu Koko Prism and Thunder Mountain. All ways to cheat out energy for Miraidon and attack turn 1. You even play Iron Thorns in there too. That's kind of sick. We got another Iron Thorns deck here. Iron Thorns with Garbodor and then the Luxray and the Vigavolt in the deck. And I think that was it. Yeah, that's all the decks here that we can look at from this expanded tournament. But yeah, I wanted to kind of highlight some of the expanded format stuff. I know we don't have expanded on live, and they might introduce the entirety of expanded soon, because again, we only have Sun and Moon on instead of Black and White on, which we had here from this Champions League. But it's really cool to see what's doing good and expanded right now. Crazy enough, Charizard is still seen playing in Japan, but it's not as dominant just because it's hard to deal with all these big cheesy combos that exist, and it makes Charizard a bit harder to use in expanded. But it's still cool to see Charizard do something. It's still okay. I mean, Charizard's such a ridiculously strong card. Obviously, it's still got to be good, even if the expanded format is a little bit more hostile towards it and doesn't allow the deck to operate as much. But that'll be it for me. I'll leave a link to these 2 websites I used in today's video down in the description below if you're ever interested in looking at any of these expanded decks for yourself. Very cool stuff, and maybe sometime down the road we'll see even more expanded results. But I did want to kind of highlight what's doing good and expanded. If anyone was ever interested and show off some of the broken combos, you never know. Expanded might get added to TCG Live one day, and we might have to deal with it for them. But that'll be it for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and I'll see you on another video here on the second channel. Bye-bye.